Episode 223 of The Past is here. I'm your host, BT. Decided to bring back a repeat offender, I guess you can call it. I can't say a special guest because he was on my show to close out our podcast every day in April, where we kind of chopped it up about sports and some different topics. But this time I have him on for a different show. So Clarence, if you want to say what's up to the podcast community.
What's going on, people?
Give credit where credit is due, because he literally just got back in town. So it's like it was short notice, and it's like this is kind of like that. I guess you can call it the running the show, throwing the light, and I'm like, all right, it's the middle of the night, and I already had worked overnight, so it worked out to our advantage. So he came to me with this topic early to mid-November, I think. And we were really on board about it. And I didn't really know if it was suitable, but I also realized because of the title of this podcast as a whole, it's about sports and stuff. And this is what we both would consider as important stuff, because disclaimer, this is not going to be your tech story. This ain't gonna be your music story. You're not gonna hear about any ads of the week. All that's going out the window. I told Clarence already it was good I didn't do my regularly scheduled program, because I was gonna do my weekly picks, and I already had planned on not picking Carolina, so it worked out to not do sports for this week. But to not waste y'all's time and not go 2 minutes into the show, we're gonna be talking about mental health. But not just mental health in the Black or African American community, and why it's overshadowed or why it's neglected. So normally I'm usually passing information over, but I'm going to kind of lead a little bit, and then I'll let Clarence kind of chime in, because I know he has some things that he wanted to share, because he mentioned about his story, because we both, it's not as intense for me, because I know for me, like everybody tells me to this day, I'm spoiled rotten. I'm okay with that. I think, a lot of it from my end was support and just kind of knowing how to get through certain situations. But Black people don't like to get help as far as psychiatry or going to, be tested or see if there's anything going on. And for whatever reason, it becomes it takes a village to raise a child, so we'll just handle it internally with our family, with our friends. But in reality, if you need to go to somebody to get help, it's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm kind of going to throw that as my wild card, warning the show will go in different directions, but it will stick to the mental health process. So if you, Clarence, want to tell your story, if not, we can, I'm kind of like, this is like a free flow show. Yeah. You know me.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell my story. Okay. Because, like I said, this was something that, I brought to you, and I feel like that is something that needs to be said, and awareness needs to be brought up about it, because like you said, in the Black community, mainly African American men, we have this thing to where it's instilled in us that we have to be strong, regardless, and we cannot show weakness whatsoever.
Right.
So, like for my story, I started dealing with depression, even though at the time I didn't realize what it was. Mm-hmm. When I was around 8 or 9, when my parents got divorced. And then with me being the only boy and my father was gone, I felt alone.
Okay.
So, and then I was the oldest, and I had 3 sisters. Mm-hmm. So I had to deal with that, as well as I still had contact with my father, but it was it was difficult because he wasn't here. He was in other states and things of that nature. And then I would talk to him on the phone, ask him for things, and I never got it.
Right.
So over time, the depression built, created a wall, and it created a wall to a point to where I didn't trust men.
Okay.
When it comes to sharing my feelings, because I felt like, okay, I've expressed my feelings to my father, and it seemed like he really don't care. So why should I express it to anyone else?
Right.
So with that, because I held everything in, I think I was probably about 12 or 13. And it got so bad to where I went into my sister's room, and I just basically went to one of the windows, which it was just a straight drop to concrete.
Mm-hmm.
So I was standing in the window, just ready to just end it.
Okay.
And the thing is, and over the years is just increased. And it's been a couple extra times where I either contemplated suicide or was close to doing it again.
Wow.
And the thing is, people don't know that, because I've kept it inside.
Mm-hmm.
Because for one, I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me.
Right.
And which ultimately, that's not the mindset that I should have. Mm-hmm. It's more, okay, let me unload this book bag full of bricks.
Madness, yeah. Right.
It's like I'm carrying it around for no reason, and if I just unload it, it'll be better. But developing trust issues from a young age to an adult, it's hard. And then, like you said earlier, on top of that, as Black men, we're not supposed to show any weakness.
Right. You're supposed to, quote unquote, claim everything is good.
Exactly.
Okay.
And which saying, yeah, everything, yeah, I'm good. Well, how everything going? Oh yeah, it's good. But deep down, I'm like, if you could be in my mind right now, you would probably commit suicide yourself.
Right.
Because I mean, for me, because I'm a thinker anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, I thinking about scenarios, thinking about this, thinking about that. So it's like, I mean, there's times where my mind is just like, be ready to explode. And it's like, okay, I don't know if I share this with this person, if they're going to really get me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the pity,
the label.
Yeah. I want the help. Yeah. So it, with me, it kind of handicapped me. And, with me now being 36
mm-hmm.
and going through all of that, I just recently, over the past couple of years, just at least start saying what's on my mind.
Yeah.
And not holding on to it. I'm still a work in progress.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. I'm not all there, but I do see the difference where, I'm expressing how I feel more versus it was in the past. And, I can definitely see that the depression is not there as often
mm-hmm.
as it was. I mean, of course, at times we're going to get there, but, it's nothing where, okay, I'm going to be depressed for the whole week and I'm just going to sit in the house in the dark.
Going,
like that.
Going, as I call it, because it's a reference I'll go by where it's called, in your case, it would be Johnson Island.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of fade to black and just chill.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but now, it may last for like a day or so, mm-hmm. if not. And I mean, it's just, sometimes it's just just thinking about things and, you know, trying to put things in perspective and order. But, you know, the biggest thing is not worrying about, or getting, I would say just getting over the trust issue.
Okay.
Because I think that's the biggest thing with guys is we'll tell you some stuff, but if we don't feel like we trust you, you're not gonna get no information.
That's what I'm yeah, you're right. Wow. All right. That was like you threw the alley, and now I'm sitting here like, all right, I got a lot of, so Clarence and I, Lord, okay, backstory without a backstory, because number one, y'all know I don't tell business publicly as needed, but I kind of know how to tell the story. Clarence and I met through my previous employer, which I will keep off the show. But in hindsight, it's an ironic turn of events now, because I can remember, and you may not remember it, but I'm going to share the story because I'm that person. When I initially came to do my interview, you had my mode, which was headphones on. I'm here, but I'm not really here.
Exactly.
And it wasn't, but the thing that was funny about it, I never took it to heart, because as time progressed, I realized that you were, and even though I'm not there, I know you as a person. You're a valuable resource to those who are around you, as long as you just take time and approach. I won't say proceed with caution, because I think that's something that people do wrong too.
Yeah.
Is because I went through that when I was there, and I think you kind of may have noticed it when I would be at my desk, because a lot of people didn't know how to interpret me, because I always was in my screen, focused on my job. But on the flip side, if I turn away and I actually talk to you, it would surprise you, the conversations the things that I knew.
Yeah. But we're both Virgos.
Right.
So.
That's number one. That's very important. And I say that, and I'm adding to that because I think what's tough is I usually don't like to do signs R, X, Y, and Z, but I had to kind of come to grips, especially from my own perspective, where yes, I am an introvert, but I do have extrovert tendencies. So I do kind of play that ambivert role, as I like to call it, which is fine. I mean, I have no shame and no issue with that whatsoever. What makes it a more full circle process now is when we come together and you'll hit me up, like, I think, and because I even told you this, like the week you had needed help with moving, like that, you had hit me up literally that day or around that time. It was like, hey, I need help. And I was like, all right, I ain't got nothing going on. I'll roll through. And in the back of my head, it was, well, I got 1,001 things that I really want to do, but I really don't need to do them. It's not the end of the world. Let me go over here and like help out. It's not, time is valuable. And it also was like, that was kind of like a bonding phase, just like us catching up. And then it was ironic because your significant other was able to learn information from me to get a better perspective of you, which I'm going to disclose some information about that tomorrow, known as the nerd community, but I digress. All right, I dodged there. I said all of that, and I'm going to bring it back to your story. Do you feel now that, well, for because I'm analyzing, like, thoughts are running, as you know me. Do you feel as though you have a better handle on self-care now than when you did at that time?
I feel like I have better control over it now. Okay. And I think one of the biggest things is my wife, because because it's crazy because she's an extrovert. Yes. We're just like,
she's very outspoken. Yeah. And and I say outspoken, but it's in a good way. Like, she's going to tell you like it is and not blink. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just weird because, people, when we first got together, people was like, "How'd that work?" Because yeah, and I'm like, he don't talk. I was like, yeah, I do talk, but if I know you, I'm gonna talk.
Exactly.
Other than that, I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Bye.
And that's
it.
And that was how our conversations were when I first started there. And it's so ironic because after I left, I think we kept in contact. Like, you were probably one of the few that I would hear from more often. Like, yo, B, you good? And I'd be like, I'm handling things the best I can. But you'd be like, all right, what's going on? Like, and I'm just like, oh, all right, I got it.
I'm like, hey, you opened the door, so hey.
And I've learned now, that's my newest thing now, is I've learned, like, for instance, and this is a transition for me now that's new. And it's not anything that people don't do anyway, but it's something I've realized. I've learned to let people talk. Yeah. Like, in your story, for instance, a few months back or at one point, the minute you start talking, blah, 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 no, empty the clip. That's the term I use. Empty the clip. Let your shots off, because what happens is if you don't get everything out, you'll leave important pieces out of the equation. And it's like that makes the communication that much more important. I'm glad you shared your story, number one. Number two, I feel like you're helping others know that you can get over the hump. Mm-hmm. And this will kind of spin, I guess it's a mini story, but it's not a story. And you might remember the picture, because it was like, I was at work one day and I had the glassiest red eyes of all time. Not at your job, where I'm at now. Okay. And I took a picture, I posted online. I don't know if you saw it or not, but all I remember was my eyes looked bloodshot red. I looked like I was tired and over everything. Little did anybody know there was so many things going through my head. It was the process of recollecting a brand, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with a podcast, like just everything all hitting at one time, but trying to carry myself like I'm cool. But what's ironic, even though my roommate's not here, she'll tell you, just like I'll tell you, when it's a moment of me on some shutdown, it's like, yo, we got to get out, do something. Like, you can't sit and like sulk. And I think,
and that's the important piece,
right?
Those that are around us, that know us, mm-hmm. They know our tendencies. Right. They know, okay, all right, I know when something's wrong with you. Yeah. Because, like, my wife knows when I get completely quiet, something is wrong.
Yeah, World War III is on around the corner. Yeah.
It's something is wrong. And because to what that picture I posted on Facebook, mm-hmm. I think last week or the week before.
Yes.
That, when I saw that, it literally almost brought me to tears because
of how valid
I know the feeling. So to give everybody an idea of what the picture is. The picture is of an African American guy, mm-hmm. who has a noose that is right in front of him. He's literally crying, and he happens to pick up his phone, and someone that he knows calls him and says, "Hey, I know you're busy. I just called to say you are amazing. Thank you for lighting the world with your spark."
Right.
And in this process, he's crying in a picture. Mm-hmm. And that was heavy because I've gone through that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think that a simple, "I love you, I'll just think about you," they don't understand how valuable that is.
Yeah.
And how that could literally save somebody's life.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I was like, I feel like he's going to say that. I'm like, I'm waiting.
Yeah. Because there's been a lot of instances where, even with a text message, I get from different people, hey, I was just thinking about you. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
I love you. I'm like, dang, okay. All right, I do. I guess I am valued.
Right.
And then it kind of like bring me out of it.
Yeah. I know, and I don't think I've shared them with you personally, but I know you may have seen them online. Whenever I do my inspirations, it used to be daily, but life is on, hey, if it hits you, share it. And lately I've had moments where I've shared messages. They may or may not be subliminal, but I know a lot of times if it's read, it's like, Brian, that really touched me. And the person who sends that doesn't understand from me how much that makes me feel as though I'm valued and it's, I've made an impact on someone's life. I'm negotiating. I really feel like I'm gonna make that picture the background for this podcast. Cause I'm usually like, anytime I do shows now, I've gotten much simpler with doing design and all that. And I've told you about that.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to share that one. Now, a message, well, two things. One, I'm going to be petty because I want to get this out of the way first. Ladies, this is a sidebar from this podcast, but I'm going to share this now so I can get it out the way. I've already seen one. If I see anybody with the 2018 chick stepping into 2019, I will be screenshotting everything that you post. Just giving you a fair warning. We will get it out of the way early and quickly. The second part, which I shared with you, and I found this to be something that I need to work on doing because it's kind of small steps to self-care. So one thing that I do, and it's not on this list, but I've found this to be my perfect storm. Everyone's not able to do this, but if you're able to, it's a benefit on so many levels. At the end of the night, when we go to sleep, by nature, we put the phone at our bedside. Cool, I get it. You want to get messages. Your phone might go off. It might be something important. Got it. But take a day and put your phone in a different location, number one. And number two, put your phone in airplane mode. Just for the night. It's going to scare you because you're going to be wondering what may or may not have occurred. But in reality, you're not going to miss anything for that couple of hours that you're shutting it down.
Not at all.
I get everyone's in the streaming life and we all listen to everything on our phones, but you have other alternatives. You can always set timers. Stop using excuses for yourself. I mentioned to you about, the just doing it as far as what we're working on. So I'm going to give you a couple of things. And since it is the 2nd of December, and I'm doing, I think you may have seen on my page, I'm doing what's called Surrender December, where each day I'm sharing something that is surrendered or something that I'm looking to work harder on that I didn't work on this year or to improve this year. And I'm looking forward to improve even more next year. So for the remainder of this month, I'm going to point out some things that you can try to do. You don't have to do all of them, but try to do them, as properly. From now on, try to schedule your month with these: 1 lunch date with a friend, 24 hours of no social media, 1 day outdoors, 1 night out with friends, 1 date night, even with just yourself. I'm going to get back to that one because I got a great story about that. 1 breakfast meetup with friends, 1 movie night, 1 day serving others, and 1 day completely to yourself. So the date night. People don't like to go on dates by themselves. I get it. It's terrifying. It's creepy. It looks weird.
Yeah.
But who cares? I'm the weirdest person. Well, from a dating perspective, when I was dating, because right now I'm Brian, I'm Team BT bound right now. But in the process of dating, whenever I dated people, I usually do something that a lot of people aren't used to. Whenever I go on a date with someone, normally when you go on a date, if you're sitting like at a table, it's always the one person sits on one side, the other one sits on the other side. Nah, I make people sit beside me because that makes it uncomfortable, but it makes it comfortable. It's like when you're in a house that has a sitting room and you are not supposed to sit in the sitting room. I was the fool that would sit in the sitting room because I didn't. It was just how I functioned. I'm sharing all of that and I'm giving information about this to let people know self-love, self-care, self-assessment are the three things that ties into the mental health and are helpful in figuring out what to do. There's nothing wrong with getting advice or getting input from other people. I have no problem with that. But I feel as though we don't really take time to step back and really look at everything, because then what happens is, for instance, an hour of shutting off your phone, or better yet, and I was reading a Bible plan about this. It talked about silence. When our mind is silent, we're scared because we don't know what to do. We're like, oh my God, I actually got to think about other stuff other than my phone going off, other than a stream being in the background or whatever. So you have, it's that factor of just taking time to yourself. I know we all over the place, but I want your thoughts on this, because I know I'm like, I don't want to take over the show. Because you know me.
You know I'm over here.
You planning it out?
Yeah.
If there was one piece of advice that 36-year-old Clarence would give 8-year-old Clarence after the experience, what would it be?
It will be, the biggest thing is everything is going to be okay. The biggest thing.
Okay.
And also give a chance and trusting, and be more open, even though, because during that time, even though I had the trust issue with men, it kind of went over to women. Mm-hmm. So it's like I didn't trust nobody,
right,
when it came to how I felt on the inside.
Yeah.
But it would just be just trust. Just take a chance and trust somebody, because at the end of the day, you may have to go through a couple people to eventually get to the point to where you will be able to get out of this situation. Mm-hmm. And I think if that did happen at that time, I wouldn't have gone through all the stuff that I gone through leading up to today.
Okay. All right. That's real. I'm speechless because I'm just thinking, I mean, like I said, this is one of those shows like I said, I'm not putting a limit on this show, because we're talking about this as two Black men, as high profile, and I'm going to tell this story. I don't know if I've told you this story. I might have, but I'm going to tell it in the best way possible without giving a lot of information. So my current employer that I'm with, as y'all know, I'm stubborn. I don't give names. I was with this company before. I had the position that I have now, but I saw an opportunity to get a better position. I got the better position. It was a different shift. Things were going good. That was one of my weirdest years in 2013, because for whatever reason, I did something wrong that I've learned to do now. And that's why I think I'm more selfish in looking at this. I didn't grieve. And when I say grieve, let me go ahead and get it out of the way now.
And that's a good point. That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Grieving.
Yep. And grieving doesn't mean losing a person or dying. It can
just
mean
getting over the situation.
And what happened was, for me, a situation would come along, or a person would come along. We'd rock out fine. It didn't work out. Let it go. Took a couple weeks. Boom. Next setup. I did that 3 times. So in other words, I've dated 4 people in 1 year. at separate points. But the last person I dated was the worst of them all. I ended up being in the position that I had, and I went to work, was at work, had a nice conversation with the person through chat, messaging, things of that sort. But it turned out the person was upset because of how I handled social media. I'll just put that term. You take with it as you will. It turned into a verbal argument once I got off work and once I got home, to a physical argument or a physical situation where I ended up getting in trouble. Long story short, I ended up having to serve time in jail. It's not anything that I'm proud of, but I personally can say if it wasn't for that moment happening, I wouldn't have been as humbled by things that have happened and continue to happen in my life. When I was doing my time, doing whatever, and I was, the sentence I ended up doing 3 months, but doing that time felt like an eternity. I say all of that to say how mental health was impactful at that point. And I won't even say mental health. It's more so on my end. It was more, I ignored self-care. I ignored the things that I like doing. Like a shirt that I'm wearing now for Twitch, I would have never worn at that time. Me sitting here watching people play video games, I wouldn't have done it at that time. I was playing video games, but I wasn't comfortable playing it. I wasn't comfortable with writing. I wasn't comfortable with being a gamer, a nerd, a techie, a music head, all that stuff. So I was able to regain my comfort. And now everything's been about me just building myself and improving upon what I've done, to get back in a better place. Because now I'm more on and I've talked about this on podcasts numerous times, I'm all about energies, temperatures, your vibe. If you're not, like me coming back to the job that I'm doing now, one of the girls who works with me was surprised because when I first came into work, I met her. She didn't know who I was from anybody. And she was surprised that I could read her as far as a person, but it wasn't like I was analyzing her. It was just, all right, your energy's off. What's going on? And she was like, wait, you just met me. How do you know that's the thing? I was like, listen, sometimes you just can tell. And that was one of those moments that I easily could tell. So I'm saying all that to say, and what was important then that I've learned now, just like you pointed out, was the grief. Like right now, I'm not going to say I'm grieving and hurting, but I think I'm way more relaxed where I can go somewhere. I can go to a bar or a club and party and not look for anything to jump off or pop off other than, hey, I'm just here to dance a little bit, maybe mingle, but not walk away with, I'm trying to leave with somebody to sleep or whatever. Like I'm just there to show my face, say I attended, go home. But I'm a huge advocate of self-care. And I've, mentioned this before, and I've even posted statuses about this. The podcast will, and I'm going to find a way to do it, implement more ways of reaching those between mental health as well as domestic violence. Because I think it's something that's very overshadowed
right now.
Yeah, it's over. We think everyone has different awarenesses that are important, and no awareness is less than another. Like, let's get that on the table right off the rip. But I feel like mental health as a whole, like even with sports and athletes, like we think about players who play different, play basketball, play football. They go through so many things. You traveling state to state, night after night, and you got to still try to play a game and still deal with not even the groupies now. It's the social media people who see you somewhere and you're, I'm a blog person and I'm trying to get a story. So let me make up this story that happened and put it in the Shade Room or World Star and generate this situation that may not even be what it was.
Exactly.
And
even Kanye.
Yeah. Oh, Kanye. Wow. That's the whole 20. That's the rest of the show.
I mean, because right now he's the poster child for mental illness in the Black community.
Kanye, but you know what it is? I'm gonna say something about it. I'm glad you said that. You know what Kanye's issue was? Kanye never grieved over his mother's passing.
Yeah, I agree.
At all.
I agree.
And
he went right back to work.
Yeah, forget music. We saw what the result was. Like, a lot of people aren't even. There are a lot of people who I personally know that don't even want to hear his new album, and I personally don't blame them.
Yeah,
it's just the place that we're in. It's I don't want to hear it, but if it's good, I'm gonna give it credit for being good, but I'm still not a fan of his. And a lot of people are carrying it that way, and that's okay. Like, I get it. But as far as him, like, in the last couple of months, it's been attention grab. Oh, I'm okay. Everything's good. I'm going through problems. I'm taking pills, this, that, and the third. I'm in my house. I'm in Wyoming. Kim's giving me a hard time. And it's like, or just sit back and really be accountable for what's going on.
Yeah. And I mean, all the stuff he's doing is he's basically crying out for help.
Right.
In his own way, his own crazy way. And, it affects people in different ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, whereas with him, he just do a bunch of crazy stuff. And with us, we'll just eternalize it and keep it to ourselves. And then, people that are close to us, like, no, you don't normally act this way. Then that's how they know something is wrong with us.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta having the right outlet plays a major part, but also being willing to know that if you talk to someone, you're talking to them in confidentiality, and it's not gonna spread like wildfire. We're near the close, I guess, but not really. I know I said, like, I'm keep emphasizing close, but I know you got work, I got life. I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm always, because I'm doing, I always talk about it. Like, this is, the podcast is the podcast, but I've mentioned to you, and I'm working, whole designing thing. So I'm like trying to keep my brain wrapped into that. Like, I'm turning into a font person now. Like, I'm sitting here thinking of, like, all right, this is so random. This is the life I lead. I'm the guy, like, how females go on Pinterest to look for, like, decor? I'm looking for fonts. Like, different fonts. Like, oh, this is a cool font. I think this would work for this design. I think this font and this color scheme would be, like, I'm learning doing with graphics. I went to school for it. And back then,
I mean, I understand where you come from. Because, I'm the same way with food.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yes, I can put these two things together.
Yeah.
Because I have a very creative mind when it comes to food. So I just get crazy ideas in my mind to want to try. So it's like I know how you feel.
Yeah. So I'm just sitting here, like, because I know when I talked to you, about the work that I'm gonna help you with doing, and we talked about before. I was sitting and I'm just like, all right, I got an idea. And then it was ironic because a color that you already have, I was asking someone of colors for a different type of a brand altogether, like a whole different genre, like mental health or whatever, for someone's business. And they were like, avoid this color. And it was like, but you can use that color with, like, cooking and this and that. I was like, okay, gave me an idea. So it's just stuff like that I have going on. And I know, like I said, I know with you when it comes to cooking, like, that's your niche, because pots and pans don't move here for me very often, because I'm just that, hey, I know my craft. Break down a computer, got you. Break down the kitchen, gone. Where's Brian? He is somewhere hiding out.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, yep.
He left.
He actually went to get something to eat. And this is what I call closing remarks, empty the clip, everything you want to say, whatever you feel, I'm letting you have the floor, because this is a dope show, only because I feel like people don't want to talk about this enough. let alone not claim it as being a real thing, because it is. Yeah. And we're not just saying it just because we're not. I don't want to use the term, but I'm going to use it because it fits. We're not just talking about it because we're Black. We're talking about it because it's reality.
Exactly.
So any final thoughts, like any information you want to give, just to sum up?
Yeah, because there was an article on the Philly Tribune talking about mental illness in the African American community. And we'll just read like a couple sentences. African Americans may be resistant to seek treatment because they fear it may reflect badly on their families, which that's understandable.
Right.
An outward admission of the family's failure to handle problems internally.
Okay.
African Americans who suffered greatly from mental disorders, many held negative attitudes about people who obtained medical health care. No matter how impaired they were, they didn't want to be one of those people. Many African Americans with mental disorders are unaware that they have a diagnosable illness at all, and are even less aware that effective psychological treatments exist for their specific problem. Because of the taboo surrounding open discussion about mental illness, African Americans often have little knowledge of mental health problems and their treatments, which that is the truth.
Yeah.
And for the most part, from what I've seen and experienced, most of them turn to drugs.
Turn to the streets, yeah.
And prime example, my father, even to this day, he's battling depression. And there's a lot of things that is going on with him, but instead of seeking the help that he needs, he's turning to drugs. And he would turn to it, then come away from it, seem like you're doing good, doing better, then go right back to it.
Right.
And it's like, I know what it is that's causing it, but at the end of the day, until he comes into his truth and, let it go and talk about it, he's going to struggle with it.
Right.
And it's just going to be a repeated cycle that's just going to continue to happen.
Yeah. That's true. All right, I'm gonna try to politely wrap this, because I know it's so many things I got, like it's so many thoughts I have about this topic, and it's so many thoughts of just I'm the minutia person that likes to leave people with something to just not just say, like, when I do my regular shows, I'll talk about sports, I'll talk about stuff, but I'll try to tell you something that really you don't think about.
Yeah.
Going through, so first and foremost, I'll be transparent. Even with me telling the story I told earlier, mental health is not something that I personally have had or gone through. I'll be 100% honest. Have I gone through phases where I've been down and out? Absolutely. Have I had moments where I've shut down and not really talked to anybody? Plenty of times. Tying that at this current point into it being the mental health status, I'm not going to claim that, only because I know that I've had people to always make sure that I don't fight the battle alone. So I got, and I'm not saying you didn't. I want to make that clear. And I'm not saying anyone who hasn't, is.
And for the most part, we do.
Right.
But it feels safer.
Yeah.
Just keeping it
to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I just think I don't know. I'm just hung up. Everything for me lately has just come back to, anytime I hear someone that's hit that wall or hit that point where things are not going good, now it's not even me asking them what are they doing to change it. I'm just looking at it as, what are you doing or where are you standing with yourself to make you feel better? And if you're standing there at a standstill or you're second guessing it, then that's when you need to figure out what to do to get to that next level. And or if you need help, like I have a friend of mine who, if it wasn't for meeting her, I don't think I would be as personable as I am now, because a podcast, far from the last thing I would have been doing. Everything that I talk about on this show or would be talking about on this show would have been in blog. It would have just been written. But I was able to get out of my comfort zone. I was able to get out of my shell and literally, and it was a social media change, which was funny because I was Mr. 151, Loose Cannon BT, Silent Assassin, and then I went back to Brighter 82. And when I went back into the Brighter 82 umbrella, it brought my brain back to realize I don't need to be silent about who I am and what I do or where I stand. I was doing that, as people call it, putting on for the gram or putting on for social. And now I'm like, look, this is what you got. If you want to learn more about it or learn more about who I am, shut down social media, really, get to know me as a person. Yeah. And the people who, like my friends who have invested that time and I've invested that time with them, that's why we all are like fools on so many levels, because they literally get and understand me just like I get and understand them. So I guess my wrap up would just be you, be proud of you. Don't fight yourself over what you're meant to be or what you're meant to do. For whatever reason, we are Black people, not just men, but Black people, men and women, will find every excuse to not do something. Mm-hmm. And the time of waiting for things to happen is over. 2019 is around the corner. We're creeping into the point where people can make millions on doing the most simplest of things. Doing makeup, writing blogs, recording podcasts, cooking, you name it, there are opportunities to do it. There are terms now for people online known as public figures, and they really just post pictures. Yeah. And they have a career, they have a following, they got thousands of followers supporting them and seeing them just post pictures.
Exactly.
So there's opportunity for you to do things. You just have to break your shell and be willing to do it. It's gonna be rocky. It's gonna be bumpy, but don't ignore or don't deny the resources you have, because there are way more resources to do stuff now than there's ever been before, and I think people forget that. Yeah. So that, I would just say that. And on like I said, just do it. Whatever it is, do it. Don't fight it. Don't sit there and question it and wonder what if and what maybe and what you want to do when you grow up. You're grown. Like, it's folks now that I look at that's in their 40s and they early to mid 40s, still trying to figure out what they're doing with their career and what they're doing with their routine, and they just are stuck. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, this is not giving me the drive to figure out what I'm trying to do, but I see I got some work to do, and I'm going to keep that in mind. Yeah. Any social plugs you'd like to share before we close out? And if you don't share stuff that I know you can share, I'm going to do the microphone takeover that I always do with people when they don't share stuff.
No, I don't have anything.
He does catering for A Taste of Heaven. Let me make sure I get the right one, because I don't want no problems. Which one is it?
A Taste of Heaven Catering and Desserts.
I'm going to say it because he knows, even though it's Sunday, he can cook his ass off. Don't let him fool you. I told people. And I'm going to give you this advice from my podcast to your spirit, because I've always seen this with what you do. Don't let anybody not see what you do. Oh, because you be doing, some stuff, just like be out there and like, oh, I'm just chilling, I'm all right. I'm like, okay.
I look, just like I'm in it being in the kitchen chefing up.
Yeah.
Things. It's a lot of things that's chefing up in my mind.
Yeah.
With, things I'm looking at right now that potentially doors might be opening next year. So
no doubt. Yeah, because I remember you said this. I know you said like we were talking about that at the beginning of this year. You were like, it's some stuff that's coming up that might be going down. So okay.
Yeah. So even though my I love doing the catering, but
another dance coming.
But 2019 might be the year where I'll still be in the cooking arena, but not necessarily catering.
Okay.
So,
but do it, man. Like I said, you got my support off the rip because you've been an inspiration with me about a lot of things because I know if no one else when I was at our old shop could read me, you would look at me and be like, "You all right?" And I'm just like, I can't lie to him because if I do, he's gonna see it.
Like I already know.
Yes, and it didn't benefit. Because now I'm about to be petty and close. It didn't benefit when there was an interaction attempt that didn't go very well with said individual. Mm-hmm. But even though that whisked and flourished to the wayside, and if my roommate was here, she would probably kick me out because all we joke and make the reference about is #power couple. But anyway, I told you it was a petty moment. Professional.
Petty.
I mean, it's all. I wish you could see the sign. I'll show you the sign when you leave out. It's a sign that says his piece. No, what does it say? Because now I gotta stand up. Be her or his piece. Because you know how people, everything you see in there is be his piece or be her piece.
Patty.
Hey, since 1982. All right, y'all know what it is for me, man. Past podcasts on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify. We out here. This will be under non-weekly episodes, and you definitely will want to tune in and just check out any previous shows. If you want to go back and listen to the show that we did together in April, that is under PETA for Podcast Every Day in April, where we kind of shot the breeze about football and things of that sort, and basketball. Trying to think. Bright 82, I use that platform, but it's kind of just there, and he's going to get on me if I don't do it because I'm trying to get him to be part of my portfolio that I'm working on. Rely on BOT, working on Robot. That is the brand that I'm pushing for 2019. It was the option between Richmond Zone or Rely On, so I decided to rely on me to do various things, and it just is ironic that my initials are BOT. So gonna be graphically designing and doing some web page work down the pike because it's time for me to get off my behind and do something not cut myself short. So that is where we are. Thanks for joining me on the show. I think I have a feeling that you are probably going to be on one of my upcoming shows with the whole crew. I just need to get that all planned out because we have been putting this thought together of doing a show where it's possibly going to be what we call This Is the Last Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm working on it because I didn't do it with you because I'm, like I said, everybody I have to, flow with the process, but normally I'll throw soundboards and sound effects. But if you join for that group, the soundboard will happen. So I'll just warn you for that. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm glad you brought this topic. If you get any other topics, like I said, we'll set up a date and, we'll sit down and do the get down and roll with it.
Cool.
But as always, thanks for tuning in. This is The Past. Recorded weekly. There are some random shows that throw in there on the fly. And until next time, y'all take it easy.